Hello and welcome. I'm Clayton M Coke and I'm also the host for the Cashflow Show, the radio show that's disguised in the shape of a podcast, but with so much more. Every week we'll be interviewing someone inspiring from the business world and finding out how they started in business, what their trials and tribulations were, and how they intend to grow their business in the future. We will also be finding out about what they do in their spare time, as well as asking them to pick a book, a film, and a favourite single or album, and to share their reasons for doing so. So why not join us at the Cashflow Show? It's not just a radio show, it's a whole new way of doing business.
The Cashflow Show, in association with PRMS.
Hello and welcome to the Cashflow Show in association with PRMS Ltd. I am your host Clayton M Coke, and if this is your first time, I should say that the Cashflow Show is the radio show disguised as a podcast. During every episode, we will be talking to a business owner or entrepreneur and hearing the tales of the origins of their business, their successes and failures, and their future in the business world. But that's not all. They say all work and no play makes Jack or Jill pretty dull. So we ask our guests to pick a book, a film, an album or single in order to get to know their tastes and what they enjoy in their spare time. So if that works for you, welcome to the Cashflow Show. Well, here is our premiere, our maiden voyage episode, and we're delighted to have the wonderful Lisa Newton.
Hi, my name is Lisa Newton. I am an entrepreneur, an author and a marketeer.
Excellent. And what's your main business?
Main business is a bookkeeping service called Boogles Bookkeeping Ltd. What we do is we help small, busy individuals, business owners, self-employed people to get on top of their books, get to grips with the numbers and make sure that they are filing their returns on time, doing their books, understanding what's going on in their business.
Is this your first business?
It's not my first business. I'd say actually my first business was when I was 13 at school. And I used to sell baubles to my friends and then to the staff. And then my mum at the time used to work in a lingerie factory and they used to have what's called cast-offs. So say you do a run for a company and there's like 2 or 3 pieces left over, they would sell them for 25p to the machinists.
Okay.
And so I once did a summer, not even a summer, it was Easter, like 2 weeks working there, like work experience. And I didn't know they had this sale. And then when the sale went on and it was for 25p, I just bought up loads of stuff because the others were so used to it that the ladies there didn't really, if it wasn't their size and it wasn't for them, they didn't bother with it. But I don't know, I maybe spent like £5 or something like that, bought a whole load of stuff up and then went to school the next day and sold the 25p for like £3.50. And it just started from there. So ever since then, I've always been looking for something to buy and sell. So
really, you've been displaying the classic entrepreneur behaviour from a very, very early age.
Yeah, but I wouldn't have, at the time it was just, here's an opportunity, 25p, and it was good quality underwear, this was lingerie, this was knicker and bra sets, really good stuff. So, I just thought, and I used to go to an all-girls school, so lots of girls there, and that's how it all began.
So do you feel that to a certain extent you saw an opportunity in terms of business and really just ran with it?
Yeah, but I wouldn't even have called it business. I think more it was I saw an opportunity and I saw something that I liked and that I knew other people would like and that I knew I could sell. So,
okay.
Yeah.
And how did you get from lingerie to bookkeeping?
Well,
they're not really they're not really associated with each other.
No, you're right. And I think one of the first challenge that I had at the time, I remember when I left school at 16, I remember thinking, I haven't really got a market to sell to now because I'm not at the all-girls school now, and also my mum didn't work at that factory anymore, so I also didn't have the supply. So then I was out of business, but I went to college. And one of the things my mum always said to me is, Lisa, you should be an accountant, because she clearly could see I just like counting money, because I was just counting my money. So she do that, do accounts, do something along those lines, because I know, she could see that. So I thought, yeah, all right then, sounds pretty good. I quite like counting money, so that's what I'll do. So when I was at school, I did my A-levels because that was the done thing and that's what everyone else was doing. But I also, at the age of 16, started the AAT, which is the Association of Accounting Technicians.
Okay.
And in those days, I say those days because this was like, I don't want to date myself, but like 20.
No, don't expose yourself.
Yeah.
Don't expose yourself because,
Yeah.
this is an important thing about business is at the end of the day, how you look is as much about how you sell your product or your service.
Yeah.
So I don't want you to just say some time ago in a galaxy far away.
Yeah, it was, some time ago, before everything was sort of like so computerized, I actually learned bookkeeping from a manual system. So this was literally what they'd call ledgers. And computerized systems were just coming in, but it was still, when you did the exam, it was double entry bookkeeping. So this was manual bookkeeping, so that's what I learned. And I remember being the youngest in the class and, the teachers being, nice to me, because most of the people, they were on day release. It was a 1 day a week course, the AAT, and I started with level 2, which was the equivalent to about a GCSE. So I really enjoyed the whole course because it was very practical. So alongside doing the A-levels, which was all theoretical and, sociology, psychology, media studies, that kind of thing, this stuff was very practical. And I thought, okay. And I actually found that I quite enjoyed it. Fast forward maybe a year or two later, I was in my parents' kitchen back in Nottingham, where I'm from. And I remember watching the Oprah Winfrey Show and seeing Robert Kiyosaki, who was on the show, and he was promoting his book at the time, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and he was talking about how important it is to pay yourself first. And there were several things that I will never forget about him sitting on the couch with Oprah on that show. And one of the things he says, pay yourself first. And another thing he said was, if you're going to learn how to do anything, and you're going to study anything, either study law, because when the law changes, the future changes, or learn how to read the numbers on a balance sheet, know how to read the numbers. And he said that your numbers is like a snapshot. He can look at someone's numbers and he knows exactly where their money's going, what their financial situation is immediately. It's like your skeleton, it's like an x-ray. And I thought, okay, so the good thing was I was doing accounts at the time, so I thought, right, I'm on the right lines here, balance sheet, so I'm doing accounts, so that's what I'm going to do. So that's why, part of the reason why I chose to go and do my degree in accounts, and also following on from that to do my master's in investment management, because Robert Kiyosaki, always talks about investing and knowing how to make your money work for you. And I thought, that sounds like a good idea. I'm going to not work for money, I'm going to have my money work for me. And that's how the journey began.
I see. Let me ask another question, which is intriguing. You mentioned your mother previously, and obviously her job in the lingerie factory. Now, in terms of your business idea and your models, did you get that influence from any of your family? Were any of your family involved in business?
My mum, because she was a machinist, she would be able to mend people's clothes for them. If it's put your zips falling out, put your zip in, and someone might say, all right, that's a good job, or can you design this, or pattern cutting, can you cut this out and stitch things together. So she has always had an entrepreneurial flair, and my grandma, her mum. So I've always been around women who, keep busy and are of use and of service to others. So that was really quite important. And the funny thing was, at college, I actually did such a long time ago, but I actually did a dressmaking course myself. Because initially I thought, I could then, be making clothes and stuff like that. But then I kind of preferred the account side of things more than the actual dressmaking. I think it's because it's a practical skill when you're a dressmaker, and I just think I'm more of the mental kind of skill. But still, bookkeeping is still that kind of skill, but just not so hands-on in a way, if you know what I mean.
So you've gone from that stage of being in an environment where you've got a flair or a taste of the entrepreneurial life. When did the light bulb go on for you to say to yourself, right, Boogles. When did that flash of inspiration come to you?
Well, it came a few weeks before my graduation ceremony because I'd finished my masters and graduated from doing a master's degree in investment management, and I knew I'd be seeing my counterparts from that course again, and I thought, my gosh, I need to be able to represent myself here, because a lot of them had gone on to go and work for big investment banks in the city of London. So, for example, Morgan Stanley or Goldman Sachs or Lehman Brothers, or, you know, people like that, investment houses. And I had, after I'd finished the master's degree, I'd been doing some more studying, but more doing languages, took a few acting courses. I was just brushing up on what they call your soft skills. And I thought, gosh, when I see these people, I need to be able to say something, you know. So that kind of inspired me to form the limited company, so that when I went there, I could say that I was a company director. So it was that I thought, you know. And then I have my business cards, and they'll say, "Oh, Lisa, so how's it going? What are you doing with yourself?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, I run a business. Here's my card." So that's how it began. And with the name Boogles, that has been my email address, which is booglesb at Yahoo. That's been my email address probably since I think 1995. I think that's when I first got an email address. And because I like Boogles, the name, and it's kind of like my street name, Miss Boogles, and I thought, yeah, that's what I call my company. This is way before Google. That's what I call my company, and I like the name because it didn't mean anything. I was taking my inspiration a little bit from Richard Branson, because I didn't want it to mean something. I wanted Boogles, and Boogles doesn't have to be. You can lend it to any industry, any business, any product, and I like that idea because I was never intending to be pigeonholed into one thing.
So you effectively wanted a name very much like Virgin,
yes,
to be the banner.
Yes.
For any project that you had.
Absolutely. Any other venture, I could still call it Boogles.
Now we're going back a bit, and you mentioned pre-Google.
Yeah.
Now, most people cannot imagine a life pre-Google.
Yeah.
And the key thing is, for many people who hopefully are listening to this, and who are maybe startups or maybe in the process of growing their business, people don't necessarily understand how easy it is literally
today
to form a company.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I did this as an experiment because I wanted to form an alternative company the other day. And it was just as simple as just getting online, filling in a form,
yeah,
paying £15.
Yes.
And literally, if you hadn't made any mistakes, within 15-20 minutes, you've got a company.
That's right, yeah.
It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, but times have changed a lot, because interestingly, when I did my degree, which was in accounts and marketing, there was no such thing as online marketing. So, now you could have a whole degree in itself in just marketing methods and strategies using online tools. So Google has just been a game changer, and all these new sort of social media platforms, things like Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Periscope, they're all coming out. These things just didn't exist. And the beauty of all of these platforms is that they're accessible, it's global, by and large they're free. The normal human being can get on these things, promote their business, and it's been really, it's been transformational, really. So it's, if I had that underwear business now, I'd be selling to people all over the world.
Yeah. How did you get your first clients? How did you get those people in?
Wow, interestingly enough, so at the time, like I talked about soft skills and courses I was doing. So I was doing a language course. I was learning French, I think it was, at the time, at Mary Ward Centre, and they used to have a notice board where if you paid 25p a week, you could put your notice up there. So I thought, okay, obviously just done my degree in, it was in accounts and marketing, so I'm using both my skill sets here, and I thought, right, I will do some marketing. So I'm trying to think what I used. I think I just literally got a Word document and designed a little poster for myself. I remember being at home and testing it with my mate, and my mum to say, which one do you like most? And they liked the little one with a calculator. So it was a picture of a hand over a calculator, like it was typing a number out. And I created it, and it said bookkeeping service, I think at the time something like £13 an hour, sales ledger, purchase ledger, bank rec, users, Sage, QuickBooks, Excel, and then my name, contact details, and stuck it on the notice board. And I paid £1, so it was for 4 weeks. And I'd go and make sure anytime I was in the building, in the college, that my notice was still there to make sure I was getting my money's worth. Lo and behold, I look on this notice board and there is an advert exactly the same, right down to the calculator with the hands typing on the calculator saying bookkeeping service, sales ledger, purchase ledger, bank rec, literally word for word. I am not exaggerating. Back then we didn't have cameras on our phones. I would have taken a picture of it and tweeted it if it was today.
Yeah.
So I took down the details on this card and I contacted this person, and basically I said, saw your advert right next to mine and I like the way you ripped it off, literally word for word, right down to the picture. And then the person replied, lady replied and was like, oh yeah, maybe I spoke to her. So I thought your advert was so good I just couldn't improve on it, so I hope you don't mind. So I'm like, well, I did mind, but I just said to her, yeah, well, never mind. So our 2 adverts are up there. And then it must have been a week or 2 later after that, she rings me and says, oh, Lisa, I have found a full-time job now, so I'm not looking, for any bookkeeping work again, but I know a man who is, can I introduce you to him? So I said, sure, because I hadn't been horrible to her or anything like that, and I think maybe deep down she knew she was kind of out of order, but she had a job, so she'd found a job, so she didn't need the bookkeeping work. So this guy turns out to be a Jewish property millionaire. It's my very first client. I remember the meeting, went in, showed him my catalogue of certificates, because I'm an overachiever, let's say. I got loads of certificates. And me and him, we got on. And I would say we served him with bookkeeping services for a good maybe 6 or 7 years. And at the time it was a nice little job. I used to get about £200 a day, nice little job, and it was relaxed, lovely in Chalk Farm, really nice. And his accountant at the time was sitting in the meeting, because he kind of was the one interviewing me, and that accountant, to this day, me and him are good friends. He's a Gemini like me, and I refer him work and he refers me work too. So he has introduced me to some amazing clients over the years. So that 25p postcard, then the connection with the lady, and then it was the lady's connection. Maybe, I think she might have been Jewish too, so maybe they went to the same synagogue or through some network there, and that's how I got introduced, and that was one of the best clients I've ever had in my whole entire life. So, you just never know what might happen. And, as a result of that, I always say to people, you've got to be in the game long enough to see the results. So, maybe that lady could have been his bookkeeper, and who knows what could have happened, but she wanted to have a job. So one thing I would always say to people is that although you might put yourself out there to be self-employed, just know whether it is you want, that's what you really want, or whether really it is you just want a job.
Yeah.
You're listening to the Cashflow Show.
Because there is a clear distinction, I think, and we've discussed this previously, that a lot of people are not necessarily cut out for the actual idea of self-employment.
Absolutely.
And in doing so, take on an opinion or an approach to life that is completely unrealistic.
Yeah.
And that approach to life, at the same time as being unrealistic, is just unsustainable. It's just unsustainable. So I can see why she wanted to probably bail out.
Yeah.
But obviously that gave you the opportunity.
Absolutely.
So that 25p was your best investment.
Ever.
What's your worst investment?
Oh gosh.
Well, while you think about that, I'll tell you what the worst investment was for me.
Yeah.
I remember when I started, I decided that, right, I'm going to join the London Chamber of Commerce. And I felt cool. I was cooler than cool. I was cooler than Denzel Washington in any movie. You know, I was so cool. I was cool. I was scared of myself. I was that cool. But I was also being completely unrealistic. So I joined up with the Chamber of Commerce, and then I found myself in a position where, I've got to laugh about this, I decided that I was going to put an ad in their magazine. Beautiful magazine it was. And, you know, all these great people in there and so on and so forth and forth. This is it. I'm going to put one ad in and this phone will ring off the hook.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for that phone to ring now. I'm still waiting. And then that cost me a lot of money at the time. Cost me about nearly 1,500 quid.
Wow.
And that was for 14 years ago.
Wow.
13, 14 years ago, when, you know, and that's when 1,500 quid was 1,500 quid.
Absolutely.
Have you managed to think of an idea of where your worst investment?
Wow, I think when it comes to advertising, because the business, it began on a shoestring basically. It was £100 from my overdraft and £50 from my mum, and I've never had, you know, outside investment or anything like that. So anytime we made any money, made any profit, it got invested back into the business to buy more stuff that the business needed. So I never really had the luxury to even experiment with an advert or anything like that that was really pricey, because we just didn't have the funds. So if anything, you know, over the years it's been tough. We've had to haggle, negotiate, swap services, get creative with the way things get done, and that's cost us time. It's taken longer than normal, but I just think sometimes, if anything, maybe where we've housed ourselves in terms of premises hasn't worked out all the time, because my learning is that it's best to be in some sort of serviced office, even though I've been in a serviced office and had like 4 weeks notice that they're closing down, and that was a bit of a nightmare, because we'd just put an advert ourselves into a magazine and the phone number that we were using wouldn't be ours by the time that magazine came out. So I don't even know if anyone tried to ring me and couldn't, because, you know, it was far too late. So if anything, in terms of decisions, it's like just choosing the wrong place to station ourselves, and then, you know, a few months later, oh, the building is closing. So then we, you know, and it's very disruptive when you have to move office. You've got to redo all your stationery, redo your business cards, and it's just stress you don't need.
Definitely.
I've moved offices more times than I've moved house.
Well, I can see that why that would be difficult. But in terms of where you are, and sometimes you've been in business for quite a while now, looking back retrospectively, what have been your biggest challenges?
I'd say, you know, getting paid from people. You know, particularly when you do bookkeeping, you dig people out of a mess, and then they want to turn around and not pay you, or getting one of their own staff, they want to on the sly, oh, can you show so and so what to do? Really, their plan is to get rid of you and have so and so do your work. So that's been a challenge. And also, you know, just in terms of working with other people when recruiting people, there are people out there that say, yes, I can do this, I can use this software, I can use this. And then we've learned over the years to give people a test. And I've seen some absolutely shocking people try and use software, and they've burst into tears and they've made all kinds of excuses, and oh yeah, it's been a while since I've used this software. And I've sat there and looked at them and I thought, my God, if I sent you to a client just based on what you told me, yes, I can use, let's say, QuickBooks, you can't use anything. And you know, that has been the most shocking part of it, the amount of people out there that, you know, claim they want to work but then, you know, can't last a week.
That is the reality of business. I mean, the fact is that your business can rise or fall depending on who you hire and who you work with.
Especially when you're a service-based company, and it's not just staffing, but it's also like suppliers. finding people who can do what they say they can do. The amount of times over the years people have said to me, I can build you a website, and I'm so glad I never chose any of them. In the end, I learnt the skill myself, and now I can build a WordPress website. It's just better.
I think it's a good idea to have a grounding in what something is. For example, you know, we're in a room here and somebody's painted it. If you've never lifted a paintbrush, you don't know how it's done, what to expect, and the results to expect.
Yeah.
And the process it takes, or whether or not you're being ripped off.
Absolutely.
It's a very interesting concept how people look at getting other people to work for them. Because the problem is, unless you understand how a job is done,
Right.
then there is very, very rarely that you can take that critical eye as to work out whether or not it's been done properly.
Yes.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
it's not been done at all.
Yeah.
So what's been your biggest successes?
I think the first one definitely was when I won Young Entrepreneur of the Year. That was back with Precious Online in 2007, and that was like the first kind of recognition I'd ever had in the business. Say, what was that, like 3 years in, as to the work I was doing, and you know the rate at which the business was growing. So that was a turning point for me, because that was when I got in the office manager to help me out, when I was then able to start to step outside of the business and to be working on the business, because I needed to put systems in place in order for the office manager to be able to do effectively the job I had been doing, which was all the admin. And what I realised is when she began, and that was doing like 25 hours a week, that was literally one day a week out of my life and I used to have to stay up literally all night at least once a week in order to get everything done, because I would run out of time every week. And so getting in that person, that kind of gave me back some of my time and gave me back some of my life. So that was the biggest success in terms of making that realization, because there'll still be people out there trying to do everything themselves, not realizing that, you know, you're limiting the business growth if you do that.
That's very true. I think to a certain extent, the idea that you are a super person and you're doing this all yourself sounds very glamorous and sounds very romantic, for want of a better expression.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to it, the reality of it is that, and we've all done it, including myself. I don't get away from this coveting glory. I've made some major mistakes in respect to that. And the idea of nobody else is going to do it as well as you. But sometimes you just have to give up those reins, because you won't progress otherwise.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you just got to give it to people who you genuinely trust and who can do.
And who are capable, absolutely. Yeah. Otherwise, overall, you will end up giving yourself more headache. But I just feel very fortunate, because I knew who I was looking for. And I remember when the person rang me, and from their voice, in my mind, I just thought, yeah, that's my person. So I was lucky there. But definitely having the wrong people around you just gives you more work. And I've known, and it's happened to me, and I've known other people, I've tried to employ people, take people on, and it's just turned out wrong, and you just have to go and firefight, clean up someone else's mess, and then you think to yourself, God, why did I do that? I'm never doing that again. And then you're back to square one, just doing everything yourself. So I do understand how difficult it can be.
Now, the key thing that I want to ask you at the moment now is this. Now that you've got all that experience behind you, what would you do differently?
Well, you see, doing the same kind of business today is slightly different due to all of this online activity that's going on.
Okay.
Whereas I think back then I might have maybe, I don't even want to say been a bit braver and, I don't know, got some money from somewhere and spent some money sooner, because in the beginning, you know, and even now, you know, I believe that the business should grow out of the profits it makes.
Right.
I don't want to be borrowing money in order to do something, but sometimes you have to borrow or invest or do in order to get things done. So, you know, let's just say the website needed doing. Instead of delaying it for a year or 2 years, if I had the money sooner, I would have done certain things sooner. That said, without the experience, it's very possible, even if I'd have borrowed the money and done it, and I've seen people do this, it's just wasted. Because I remember, you know, one time someone was saying to me, oh, I do websites. And I said, oh, how much? And they said £5,000. Now, there'd be someone out there that will pay them that £5,000, really thinking it's going to make a difference. But experience has taught me, yeah, you can have the nicest looking website in the world, but if no one finds it, then, you know, that's just £5,000 you've just, you know, spent for nothing in a way, because no one's looking at your website. So sometimes you need the experience to know what you need to have and what you don't need to have. And so when I think back and think, how would I do things differently? I'm not 100% sure, because if I'd have done everything sooner, I wouldn't have had the experience, and it could just mean I would have just spent a lot of money and got nowhere, because I just didn't have the knowledge that I needed. So sometimes some things, just with time, with experience, you learn. And I think what I'm most grateful for is it's all the things that I didn't buy, all the things, you know, over the years, the amount of times you've been sold to and I haven't bought. Those are the times that, you know, I'm glad I never bought, because they were just charlatans, they were just salespeople. Like, where are they now, you know? But someone bought from them, and whoever's bought from them is probably not in business now. So...
The Cashflow Show, in association with PRMS.
Yeah. And I did this exhibition, and, you know, to all intents and purposes, it was a complete and utter disaster. The way it was run and the way it was dealt with was just wrong, completely wrong.
Yeah.
And the guy who basically sold it to me was very much like, oh, this is going to be fantastic, this is going to be brilliant, and so on and so forth. And do you think, and this is what I learned from the whole episode, was how important gut instinct is to your business?
Yeah, but sometimes, just with the best will in the world, you know, it might just sound good. They sell it, they package it right, and you think great. Because just as you were saying that, I remember once having a stand at an exhibition, and I don't know how much I'd paid for it, but when I got there, it was like literally tumbleweed. There was more exhibitors than there were actual people walking around the exhibition. I have never before nor ever since seen something so empty in all my life. And the organizer basically was so embarrassed, he spent most of the time hiding in I don't know, the toilet somewhere, because we barely saw him. In the end, the exhibitors, we just had a chat amongst ourselves, and there were two exhibitors who were from like the same, like offering the same kind of service, that shouldn't really have been there, because we all should have been unique businesses. And it was ridiculous, you know. But that guy's taken our money. He never offered us a refund or a, you know, and even if he would have said, all right, come to the next one for free, he never did another one. And I don't really blame him, because he just spent a long time getting the money from the exhibitors and not doing anything to get any traffic, any footfall through the door. It was absolutely ridiculous.
I think what I find in terms of business, and especially when you're a newer business, people are literally just very intense.
Yeah.
And I had a guy, he called me up yesterday, and he said, and he made the first mistake. He rung up and he said, can I speak to Clay Coke, please? And I thought, Clay? My name isn't Clay. My name's Clayton. And the only people that call me Clay are people that are drunk. That's it. And that's the only time it's acceptable. Very, very few people call me. So I knew, for example, that this is a guy that I'd never met, had nothing to do with.
Yeah.
But he was trying to tell me these stock shares, portfolio, wanted me, you know, blah, blah, would I be interested in all of this stuff? And he was there basically. I said, how did you get my details? Which is always a showstopper. Yeah. How did you get my details? And obviously he got them from some database that he got. And we know cold calling from a database, but you're not going to get a lot of people. It is what it is. But it was the way that you feel that you're being sold to by people for a product that you genuinely don't want. That person has made a sale. Obviously, in terms of what we do at PRMS is debt recovery. So what we do is that we deal with people who the salesman's made a sale, but the credit control and the accounts department is spending the rest of the time cleaning up the mess from the sale that should never have happened.
Yes. Yeah.
And as I said, the same thing that you see all the time.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. And as far as I'm concerned, I think when you're being sold to, like, every time that you've been sold to, but you managed to basically dodge that and swerve that opportunity.
Yes.
And I thought an exhibition would be great. I dropped my guard.
Yes.
But now, if you want to sell me something, this had better be good.
Yeah. No, nowadays, I mean, I will just go to the exhibition and network in the exhibition. That's just is what I'll do now. And it's just, over the years, and there's so many people that offer these great things, and you just have to be really, really careful, because one of the things that you have to realise is that, let's just say you do buy a exhibition space or space in any magazine, and say it is £1,000, you have to make £1,000 clear profit just to get your money back. And notice I said profit, not sale.
Yeah.
So you might have to make £1,500 or £2,000 of a sale just to cover that one advert. So you have to be very careful, very careful.
No, and I think people get drawn into that, because even, I'll come back to exhibitions again. When you're dealing with exhibitions, what happens is that it's not just the exhibition. It's the pens, which everybody keeps stealing. It's the chocolates. It's the sweet. It's the literature. It's the people you've got to help staff it. It's the overnight stay. You're in London and they're in Newcastle or wherever it is.
Absolutely, and it's the whole time, the whole day there. It can be quite draining. So it is. Yeah, it's not just the exhibition on the day. It's all the lead up, and then the follow-ups. You've got a whole load of business cards or whatever. They need to be followed up.
Yeah, exactly. But very tough situation to be in, and there's only so much that you can do. But I mean, all of that sounds incredibly stressful. So when you're away from all that, what are your hobbies? What do you do to relax after the heavy business?
I love travelling. I do like to get about. So I'm just on a mission at the moment to visit all the 7 wonders of the world. So I've done 4 so far. Mexico, done the pyramids in Egypt as well, did Taj Mahal and Machu Picchu in Peru. So I do like travelling, really do like travelling. I like learning languages, Spanish, French. I started Chinese, but I need to go to China. So when I do the Great Wall of China, I'll squeeze in a language course there whilst I'm out there. I quite like yoga and meditation, because I think, you have to, especially when you run your own business, you just need to have calm, to be able to think clearly, think straight, and and you have to give yourself the break as well, because you're self-employed. No one's going to say, all right, you've got to take your 4 weeks holiday this year and stuff. I know business owners haven't been on holiday for years.
And I have a confession to make. I used to be one of those people. I hang my head in shame and despair. Yeah, it's but I've learnt the error of my ways, and it's hard, because I feel that to a certain extent, you've got to be able to step away and have that break, because I think, even though I love to get to a holiday destination, but I hate travelling. I need some kind of teleportation kind of situation going on, because that doesn't work for me for some strange reason. I mean, it's just the idea of holidays. I'm thinking, oh no, and I hate airports, because everything's 50 millilitres, 100 millilitres. I'm thinking, no, why are you doing this to me? And my toilet bag weighs more than everything. I see people with these little suitcases, and my toilet bag is bigger than the suitcase. I'm dreadful. I'm dreadful. So, but I have learnt the error of my ways. I'm saying this because certain people are listening. And so I have learned the error of my ways, and I've basically decided, to try and take more breaks, because I think you do need it.
No, definitely.
You do need it. Definitely. You do need it. So those are your main hobbies. So I've got some certain questions that I want to ask, and that I always seem that are really important to me, because it gives a good picture. If you go to somebody's house, you can usually tell by the books they have, or back in the days when it was vinyl, and it was pure vinyl, you could look through somebody's record collection, and that would tell you everything you needed to know. So I need to ask you, the first thing is, What's your favourite film and why?
Right, I've got several, right, so I've got a few, but initially the first one I would always say is Airplane. And if you've ever seen it, but the film's just hilarious. And I used to watch it, and I've still got the VHS tape. I actually need to go buy a DVD on it or something, or find it on YouTube. But it is, to me, the funniest film ever invented ever. And when I was younger, I used to watch it literally every week. And every time I'd watch it, there'd be something else, some new little mad thing that I never saw the first time. Even when I talk about it now, it's hilarious. So I like Airplane.
Okay, cool.
Have you seen it?
No, I've seen it. I mean, Leslie Nielsen is amazing, but I suppose to a certain extent I'm really weird when it comes to films.
Okay.
If I watch a film today, I can't watch it again tomorrow.
No, even if it's really good?
Even if it's really good. I have to literally clean my memory, bang, and watch it again sometime again, because there's certain films that I like. I'm not going to mention them here because somebody may want to do a cash flow show on me. So, but the key thing is that I don't want to see that film again. But whereas a piece of music, I could listen to that again and again and again. But a film, you know, your next one.
Yeah, the other one is Avatar, and Avatar, I think, really resonated with me because I just remember thinking, my goodness, who sat down and thought of that film? Like, and could it be possible, and this is where the conspiracy theorist in me comes out, where I think, is it possible that there could be some people walking and living amongst and around us right now that could be from another planet? And this is where I go really like might lose it a bit, because you think, what if when some people go to sleep, they are actually waking up in another universe or another dimension or another reality, but in everyday life they're around us looking just like us? So that kind of like made me think, wow. I just remember just thinking, wow, who thought of that film? So I just think for the whole kind of what
the concept?
Yeah, the concept, what it means. And you know, I'm a believer, and I say they, whoever they are, but I think there's a lot in films these days that are giving us messages. You know, they call it hidden in plain sight, like that, you know, make you think, wow, maybe this could actually be possible, because who sits there and thinks of that? And they always say, you know, if it's possible to think it, whatever the mind can perceive, it can achieve. So maybe, you know, it's out there somewhere.
There is a concept that with like Native American people say that when you go to sleep, you live your real life.
Well, you know,
you're in your dream state or whatever.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a possibility. Yeah.
So it just the whole thing just kind of blew my mind. And Django Unchained.
Okay.
To me, that film was so amazing. I actually went out and bought the DVD, and I really buy DVDs. And I lent it out to so many people, and I could talk Django all day. But for me, you know, it was just such an amazing film, because I just thought, who again sat and thought of a film like that, or any other, and I don't know whether I'd even call it a slave film. I'm not even sure if it's more like a freedom film or like almost like a romance love story. There's different ways you can describe it, but to me it's just like, what an amazing, who thought of that? Like, what an amazing piece of, and there's so much nuances, and you know, on so many different levels on that film. On YouTube, there's a video called Django Decoded, I think it is. And it's like an hour and a half of just, and look at this in the film, and look at that in the film, and
a deconstruction of the whole thing.
There's so many levels that you just think, wow, I didn't even notice that before, and oh yeah, and just.
But are you a Quentin Tarantino fan? Because obviously he's the director.
Yeah, I've been asked that before, and I wouldn't say particularly no, but you know, I just think that it was a good film. Yes, it was gory, but it was still a good film, and there was some laughs in it, like the Ku Klux Klan part where they couldn't see out their hoods because the eye sockets weren't big enough, and then they, you know, are arguing about it, who made these hoods. It was funny, but I just thought it was a really good film. Yeah. And my final one is Wizard of Oz.
Okay.
Because I like the songs. And again, that's another one. When I was younger, I'd watch it over and over again. And I've been to like this talk called Wizard of Oz, The Breakdown or something like that. It's a guy who does talks on different films, Planet of the Apes, other ones, and he broke down Wizard of Oz, and it was just fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And I think the whole story with that is just, you know, we're in search of all these different things that we think we're not. Whereas when Dorothy ends up and finds the wizard, you know, it's
even
like,
the wizard isn't what she thinks he is.
Exactly. So it's all smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
And in many ways, that's what life is all about. You know, you got to find that courage within, like the scarecrow, and all the the lion. He was the one who had the courage. The scarecrow, he had the brains. He didn't think he did, but he did. So it's all, I don't know, about believing in yourself. Really, it's very quite lots of metaphors in the Wizard of Oz.
Okay. And obviously films are obviously very important to you. Now we're going to move across to books. Your favourite book and why?
Okay, I've got two. So one is called The Coldest Winter Ever by Sister Soldier.
Okay.
That's
Tell us what that's about.
That's like a little novel. I read it when I was in America. I just happened to... I didn't know anything about her, about the book, but I was working in America for the summer. I joined the library, because that's the kind of thing I do. They got books out, and then I read the book. And the book was amazing. It was about a girl who, basically, she's from the age of 14, probably to like 21, her life, how she ends up getting busted for drugs. Do you know what? It was almost like, if you've ever watched Empire, Cookie... It's like, imagine her life from the age of 14 to when she got locked up. Imagine the madness that would have gone on in her life. And this book read like that. It was like that. And it was a page turner. And you'd read it and you just think, my gosh. And to me, the way it was written, this author either has a fantastic imagination or half of that stuff has happened to her.
Yeah.
So it just...
And who is Sister Soldier? Because there's obviously people listening that don't know who Sister Soldier is.
I don't know that much about her, but my understanding is she's a black American, and I think she maybe does poetry. And maybe she was a bit more vocal and active perhaps in the 90s. I don't know if she at any time released a song or anything, but don't hear too much about her now, but just that book will just forever stay with me, because it was just quite graphic and just amazing.
Excellent.
And then the other book is the Richest Man in Babylon, because for me it's a very simple but timeless classic, and it talks about a very easy book to read. You probably read it in like an hour. And The Richest Man in Babylon is basically a little story of a man who is in Egypt, and it starts off with him and his friend doing a carving or something, and they're chipping away at this carving in the hot Egyptian sun, and then as they look out, they see the richest man in Babylon float on by in a carriage with his water bearers and someone fanning him and stuff like that. And one guy turns to the other and says, look at us, here we are, sweating it out in the hot Egyptian sun, working hard. Working hard.
Excellent. Brilliant diplomacy.
Working hard. And, you know, if we don't get this carving done, we're not getting paid. But look at this guy in his chariot doing nothing with like 50 people all around him, running around to his every need. What is he doing that we're not doing? What's going on here? And that's what the book is all about. And The Richest Man in Babylon basically is 7 things that you need to understand about money and how money works. And one of those things it says in that book is the importance of paying yourself first. And it's a little bit like what Robert Kiyosaki says, you got to pay yourself first. That's step number 1, and this is why cash flow is so important.
Was that your business book, or did you have a business book?
Well, the business book really is the Rich Dad Poor Dad book, because The Richest Man in Babylon to me isn't a business book. It's more almost like a metaphor for life. But
is it like something you get out of the Bible, really, to a certain extent?
No, not really. Although the Bible does talk about tithing and paying 10% to the church, and one of the things that The Richest Man in Babylon says is tithing, but also make a tithe to yourself. You know, pay yourself first. But it doesn't really talk about business, actually. It just talks about this is how you should manage your money. And the importance of always upping your skills so that you can then demand more for money for what you do, that kind of thing. So just good things.
Rich Dad Poor Dad, obviously you would have slotted that in as your favourite business book.
Yeah.
Now, I'm fascinated by that book, and I've never read it.
Haven't you?
I've got no intention of reading it.
Clayton, I remember sending you a CD.
Yeah.
And you sent it back to me. And I don't even think you had a chance to listen to it. And that was with Robert Kiyosaki.
Do you know what?
And that was probably about 10 years ago.
Do you know what I think about Robert Kiyosaki? I think Robert Kiyosaki is a guy who, I would like to say, in terms of Robert Kiyosaki, how many people have actually benefited from what he's actually said? And do you know the reason why I say this? Because there was a TV program the other day, about 2 years ago. I say it wasn't the other day really, but it was some time ago. And this lady, and she stuck out of all these people that had read these books.
Yes.
And what I think is that people read the book, but they don't actually apply what it is to their life. So they've got the book.
Yeah.
Reading books is great, but I think you can get knowledge from anything. I've learned so much from so many different people, and what I say is that with the Robert Kiyosaki thing, there was this one woman, she signed up to his course, and the course has been held in Barbados. I might have told you this story. The course has been held in Barbados. She got an inheritance, which must have been about 10 grand or something, but it was quite a sizable money because she didn't have it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
She took 7.5 grand to go on Robert Kiyosaki's course in Barbados, letting herself go, whooping it up, drinking Mount Gay rum, living it large. Comes right back from Barbados, still in exactly the same position that she left, even though she was going out there to seek knowledge.
Well, that wasn't really a holiday. That was it would have been a course that she'd done of some sort. But you see, my belief.
But she turned it into a holiday.
But my belief is that, and I'm a reader anyway, I enjoy reading books, and the thing is, I'll always take notes from books, and I'm the kind of person who will take action, and not everyone is like that. And the thing, what I think with the Rich Dad Poor Dad book is that if you read it, the thing, you can't say you didn't know. And even if you take no action, ignorance is no longer bliss. You just know that isn't the way. And to me, I can only say, I've never met the guy. I'd love to meet him. He's on my famous person I'd love to meet list. But he, to me, really changed my life in the sense that just reading his books, seeing him on Oprah that time, and I remember the penny just dropped for me when he was saying you've got to pay yourself first. And you can probably get this clip on YouTube. This fireman, he stood up and said, I just don't get it. How can I pay myself first? I've got bill collectors at my door. And I've got people I've got to pay, and they're going to be on my case, and if I don't pay them, they'll, I don't know, take me to court, and and then I'll lose my house, and I can't do that. And I remember Kiyosaki just saying, look mate, just pay yourself first and you will find a way to pay everybody else, believe me. And I thought, you know what, he's right, because when these bill collectors are knocking at your door and you owe people money, you'll find some money to pay them. You really will. So, but you have got to take action. And one of the things Kiyosaki, which stuck to me, always said is about being financially free. And he says it's when your passive income, that's the cash you get in that you don't have to work for, when that passive income is more than your expenses, then you are financially free, because it means you don't have to work for money. And his thing was always, don't work for money, have money work for you. So that lady who took that 10 grand should probably have gone out, bought a house, got some rent off the house, and worked like that, and not gone to sit down to be inspired and not do anything. So,
correct.
And she could have bought a couple of 7, 8, 9.99 books off Kiyosaki, learned that, and done that.
Exactly. But she wanted, to me, as far as I was concerned, she was sat there like a complete lemon at the end of it, and had achieved nothing.
Yeah.
So very interesting.
But sometimes, unfortunately, with these courses, and this is back to the thing about getting done by salespeople, is that they're very good at, yes, you'll learn this, you'll learn that, and all the rest of it. And then when you get on that course, and they do this in property, they do it in stock investing, doing all kinds of things. You do the course, and then at the end of that course, there's another course to do, and they just try and upsell you again. So sometimes it's a little bit like that. And this is the unfortunate thing, because people go on these things wanting to better themselves, wanting to be better, and then they just take your money and run. Yeah. Well, I remember actually with the very first client, because he was a property investor, at the time, I don't know, I got on some mailing list myself, like you, Clayton. They contact me, like, whether buy wine, buy this, buy that. And this one was called Inside Track. And it was all about property, and, you know, property was the flavour of the month. And I remember reading this like brochure thing, and the way it was written, I remember thinking, this copyright is absolutely amazing. Because what it's saying is something like, you know, do you want to be old and sitting next to a 1 bar gas fire, huddling around it to try and stay warm because you know you really can't afford the heating bill that's coming on and stuff like that. It really painted a really scary, cold, horrible image of old age. And then it said, oh, do you want to take action now and come on our, you know, property course and learn how to be a property millionaire and blah blah blah. And I remember showing the client this at the time. Says, oh, look at this, you know, tickets were about £1,200, and you know, but you learn how to be a property investor. You can be financially free and millionaire in 5 years and stuff like that. And then, I don't know, several years later, I read in the newspaper, Inside Track has gone bust. I couldn't believe it. I think it was turning over about £100 million, but somehow or other, I don't know where the people's money had gone. I don't know what had happened, but no longer there.
Do you know something? I had a lot of cases like that pass through my way in terms of debt recovery and people wanting to get their money back. And I always say to them one thing: business is governed, and this is the one thing that I say, business is governed by your gut instinct. If it feels wrong, it usually is wrong. And the fact is that there has got to be a certain level of work involved. Anything that it seems too easy, there's always a problem with it, whether it's going on one of these marketing courses or trying to sell drugs on the corner of the street, you know. If you know, there's gonna be some kind of payback.
Yeah.
Because then you can't really prove to yourself that you've made that work. You know that what you've done with Boogles bookkeeping is essentially something that you've worked up from university right up to where you are now. Yeah. Whereas, you know, somebody didn't just walk along and just say, hey, here's a company, you know, do this.
Yeah.
And I think the problem is that when people have that expectation, that's where the difficulty lies.
Yeah, but, you know, we're living in a microwave society where everything's instant. And there's too many cases where people feel, oh, you know, overnight success, instant this, and, you know, it's a 10-year overnight success kind of thing, you know.
Yeah, of course. Speaking of overnight successes, what's your favourite album or single and why?
I don't have a favourite album, funnily enough. I don't even really recall really ever even buying one, but on my MP3 player, looking at it and the songs I quite like music by Queen.
Okay.
And my song at the moment is Don't Stop Me Now.
Yeah.
I quite like that one. And by Bon Jovi, It's My Life. Okay. So I'm into a bit of rock music at the moment. I don't know what that says about me, my personality, but right now I'm just like, fingers up to everyone, I'm doing this. Yeah.
I have to say that I'm intrigued by that choice. I have to say that I'm intrigued by it. I mean, Don't Stop Me Now is a great song. There's no two ways about it. You know, as far as the Queen catalogue is concerned, at some point we're going to have a chart with all of these people that what everybody likes.
Yeah, the playlist. Definitely.
Compilation on Spotify. Who inspires you business-wise?
Robert Kiyosaki.
Yeah.
Really does. I would urge you to read his book, Clayton, seriously, because he just talks about gaining financial freedom. And for me, I think what draws me to him is the fact that his books are really easy to read, and I'd like to think, started off like me, you know, with nothing, and just in a normal family, no silver spoon in his mouth, nothing like that. And anything he's had, anything he's done, he's built up and worked for it. And that kind of person I have admiration for. Yeah. So
after being in business for quite a while, what is your advice to anyone thinking of starting in business?
Well, I would say just think about the future, and if your business has a future. So, you know, I know everyone thinks, oh yeah, you know, this is going to be around for a long time, but just think of the longevity of your product or service. And when building that business, don't try and build a job. Try and do something that is going to be able to operate without you. So don't build it around yourself, so that if you want to go away or you want to sell it, or, you know, that's possible to do. So I think too many people build it around themselves and then feel trapped. So you don't want to feel trapped. I'd be looking at something that can give you passive income, because, well, I'm talking about my values now, what's important to me. But think about how your business can be scalable, how it can give you exponential growth, and how more sales doesn't necessarily mean more hard work for you, but that, you know, it's actually profitable and that's actually worthwhile, because there's a lot of things out there that you can work really hard for, and at the end of the day you just think, you know what was the point?
Excellent. Excellent. So now, really moving forward, what are your plans for the future of your business?
Well, I've got a website called workasabookkeeper.com. So it's helping bookkeepers to find work as a bookkeeper, as well as expanding the bookkeeping business where we can. And then I have a book publishing company. So we're looking for authors so anyone out there thinking of writing a book of some sort, do take a look at the website, which is boogles.com, and that's Boogles with a Z, BOOGLEZ.com, Boogles.com, and we're looking for authors. So that's what I'm doing more of. I'm writing my books. I've written probably about 20 books now, and I quite enjoy writing books. My role, even within the bookkeeping business now, is more doing the training, and my sort of little niche in that is training on accounting systems, so like QuickBooks or Xero, and then writing books, manuals, software guides on different accounting packages, and then providing training on that software. So that's kind of like been my little niche.
So in terms of books all throughout the conversation that we've had, books have played a very important role in your life.
Yeah, I am a big reader as well as writer. So I do enjoy writing. I would say probably, being a Gemini, ruling planet is Mercury. Mercury's planet of communication.
Yeah.
So I like communicating, and writing for me has always been easy. One of the things, when I was younger, I'd always have pen pals, or when I was writing emails, people would be like, "My God, Lisa, your emails are so long." But for me, that was nothing. I just get tapping away, and I could reel off an email. It's easy, so it's enjoyable. So I quite like that.
Okay, and to close off for today, because we've been talking for a little while, and hopefully people have got a flavour of what you do at Boogles, what you've done in terms of your life, what in terms you've done in terms of growing your business, who's inspired you, and also at the end of the day, what you do in your spare time. So people may come up to you with, links to MP3s of Queen songs. So, anything might happen. And I think that's always a good thing. People know a little bit about you, so people who have the same kind of tastes can then engage with you on a networking event, and we'll take you from there. But within reason, tell us something that no one knows about you.
Wow.
I'm not doing I don't need to do anything to expose yourself.
Well, I at the moment I want to learn how to ski, so I'm looking into that. I've never been skiing before, so that's just something I want to do.
Okay.
I will put it out there to the universe. I'm sure I'll learn.
That's something I've never wanted to do. Well, I can't even get on holiday, so I don't know how to ski.
No, but what it is after doing Machu Picchu, where I was hiking and climbing and camping for like 4 days, it was in the great outdoors, it's in the mountains, it was lovely, away from Wi-Fi, the birds are singing, no noise, no city noise, it was just clean, the air, peaceful, really nice. And I thought, I want to do more stuff outdoorsy, not necessarily by the beach, because I'm not really a beach person, but mountains is all right. And I thought, well, skiing would be all right, because initially I thought, it might be quite cold, but I've been told that it can actually get quite hot or quite warm, because you might be high up in the mountain and close to the sun as a result. So you can actually get a suntan whilst on a skiing holiday. So I thought, well, I do a bit of skating, a bit of roller skating in the park and stuff. So skiing, and I want to do something. I like activity. I like keeping fit.
Yeah.
So you kind of combine the activity with the keeping fit. I'm not really a water sportsy kind of person. Tried surfing, but I want to do something active.
Yeah. Excellent, excellent. Well, Lisa Newton of Boogles Bookkeeping, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We really appreciate you taking the time to be the premier person of our podcast. Finally, before we do let you go, it's good for people to know how to contact you and the businesses that you're involved in case they want to look you up. So tell us about those.
The easiest way to get hold of me is via my website, which is lisanewton.co.uk, and on that there's links to my various activities and projects, and the email is lisa@lisanewton.co.uk.
Lisa, thank you for being our guest.
Thank you very much.
And thank you, Lisa Newton of Boogles Bookkeeping, for joining us here on the first of the Cashflow Show podcast. We do appreciate you taking the time out of your time and energy to share your thoughts with us. I'm Clayton M Coke, and I'm your host for the Cashflow Show in association with PRMS Ltd. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again. Goodbye.
The Cashflow Show, in association with PRMS.